Good afternoon, all of you. And we'll move on to our next small topic, pumps and pumping stations. Okay. So being familiar with sources and from then intake structures. And we also discussed conveyance and pipes. Okay. Now we are in a position to have some discussions on pumps and pumping station. Is it okay? This is the flow. So sources are already familiar with surface and groundwater sources and how to tap the water using like some of the intake structures we have discussed. And from the intake structures directly to a consumer or to a treatment plant, we have discussed is gravity system and pressure system. And the pipe materials being used for conveyance of water, pipes and pipes appurtenances. Now we have to discuss something on pumps and pumping stations. Okay, anyway, so I'll have some coverage like important points with respect to the water pumping, but predominant discussions probably you may study in fluid mechanics. Okay, different types of pumps, the pump characteristics, and different calculations and related matters is both are common. Okay, that you just have a look on pumps design, how to perform a characteristics curve for pump and all in fluid mechanics. Let me see some important points with the pumps, and we'll be also discussing in details with pumping stations. Okay, yeah. So the definition of pumps: water pumps are devices designed to convert mechanical energy to hydraulic energy. Okay, so please, these are some of the points you have to remember: conversion of mechanical energies to hydraulic energy. And this is the primary importance to like move water from a lower points to a higher points with the required discharge and pressure head. So this is the primary requirement or the objectives of pumping. Okay, so used to move or pump water from a lower point to a elevated points with the required discharge and also pressure head. Okay, and the pumps are used to lift water from a lower elevation to a highest elevation. But sometimes they may also use these pumps in intermediate points where are used to boost pressure or maintain velocities in a system. So please make a note on these are the objectives of pumping. One is about lifting, and second is about to improve or increase your pressure, okay, or maintain a certain velocity in the pipeline systems or in the distribution systems. Okay, so these are the major classification of pumps. We are not in a position to discuss in detail, but have a glance. The pumps are classified into majorly with rotodynamic pumps and positive displacement pumps. Both of them you would have come across or you'll be studying in fluid mechanics. Rotodynamic pumps, the examples are centrifugal pumps and mixed flow pumps, or otherwise is called as semi-axial type of pumps that we'll discuss one by one later, and axial pump, or otherwise is called as propeller pumps. Okay, and in the centrifugal you have two different types based on your blade arrangements. You have a volute type and also diffuser type, and based on the casing you may also have a closed, semi-closed and also opened. Okay, and all the pumps you can also have either single stage and also multi-stage. Okay, so please remember these are one classification majorly with rotodynamic pumps. And positive displacement pumps you would have come across. Number one, like reciprocating pumps, again further into piston or plunger pumps, two classification. And rotary pumps again with four different types. One is about gear pumps, the second one is about screw pumps, third one is about sliding vane pumps, fourth one is about rotor pumps. Okay, so please remember, at least for examination point of view, for first classification is rotodynamic and second classification is positive displacement pumps. Rotodynamic we'll be discussing in detail with centrifugal pump. Positive displacement pump we'll be discussing in detail with piston pumps. Okay, and we'll also discuss something on screw pumps. Okay, so these three we are going to discuss in detail. These are predominantly used in water pumping. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so in this lecture we are going to discuss in detail with that is the kinetic pumps, that is centrifugal, propeller and also jet, or otherwise you can simply remember radial flow pumps, axial flow pumps and mixed flow pumps. So the definition we'll be discussing next slide. And positive display pumps, and in this lecture we are going to discuss one is reciprocating, another is about screw pumps. Okay, reciprocating pumps are used for water pumping, and screw pumps predominantly they may use it for sludge pumping. Okay, yes. And we'll see one by one. These are the major classification. That's what I told you. You have to be familiar with the classification based on the way by which the water leaves the rotating part of the pump. So please remember, this is something is important. So based on classification of pumps, based on the way by which the water leaves the rotating part of the pump. Number one, radial flow, where the water leaves the impeller in radial direction. Okay, please make a note on this. Something is important. That's what we have discussed in the previous slide. So one of the best example of radial flow pump is centrifugal pump. Axial flow pump is the water leaves the propeller in the axial direction. The mixed flow is leaves the impeller in an inclined direction, having both radial and also axial components. So please remember, these are three major classification of pumps based on the water leaves the rotating part of the pump, or otherwise simply you can remember impeller. Number one, radial flow, that is water leaves the impeller in the radial direction. Axial flow, the water leaves the propeller in the axial direction. Mixed flow, the water leaves the impeller in an inclined direction. That you have both the combination of radial and also axial components. Is it okay? Example of radial flow pump is centrifugal pump. Axial flow it is propeller pump, and mixed flow is about jet pump. So these three and all you would have heard about in your household level also. Centrifugal pumps you would have heard about, and jet pumps you would have heard about, and third one is propeller pump also you would have heard about. Okay, and most of the cases they may also use reciprocating pump also. Okay. In addition to that, you may also use air lift pumps that we'll discuss later, the later part. Okay. We'll go directly into a centrifugal pump. That is the radial flow pumps. Radial flow pumps. One example is centrifugal pump. Radial flow pump. One example is about centrifugal pump. Okay. So this pump, centrifugal pump or radial flow pumps are used in a very broad range of applicable flow and also head. So please make a note on that radial flow pumps are used in a wide range of flow as well as its head condition. If you want to pump excess amount of water, or if you want to lift the water to an elevated head, you can use centrifugal pumps. Okay. So higher heads can be achieved by increasing the diameter or rotational speed of the impeller. Probably you would have heard about in your household level also. If the water table is available at a depth of 200 or 300 feet below the ground, and sometimes they may use different in the case of submersible they may use different stages, or they may use, in the case of centrifugal pumps, they may use different rotational speed of the impellers. Okay. So these are all different components in that the axial radial flow turbine or radial flow pumps or centrifugal pumps. Number one is the central portion. You can call it as suction eye. Okay, these are impellers. The blades are called as impeller. Okay, and you may also have a vane, and this is enclosed or encased in a casing. That casing is called as volute casing, and because of this action, and you may get a discharge. Okay, so these are the different components in the centrifugal pumps. We'll discuss one by one. So these you would have seen centrifugal pumps in laboratories or in household also. Small scale centrifugal pumps in water pumping. Okay, yeah, these are the different parts. Just now you understand logically. Number one is impeller. Okay, so number one is impeller. You just note down, which is the rotating part of the centrifugal pump, which is the rotating part of centrifugal pump. So it consists of a series of backward curved vanes, that is called as the blades. Okay, so blade assembly you can call it as simply as impeller. Please don't confuse what is impeller and what is blades. Okay, so blade configuration in a series, okay, which is arranged backward curved vanes, that you can call it as blades, and the whole assembly you can call it as impeller. So the impeller is rotating part of a centrifugal pump, which consists of a series of backward curved vanes, or otherwise is called as the blades. This impeller is driven by a shaft which is connected to the shaft of an electric motor. So please make a note on how the operation of this centrifugal pumps also. So impeller is important. The rotating part of the centrifugal pump, it consists of a series of backward curved vanes, or otherwise is called as blades. The impeller is driven by a shaft which is connected again to a shaft of an electric motor. If you switch on a motor, this impeller rotates, which will create this action, cavity action. Thereby the water which is pumped into a casing again pushes into a discharge pipe. Okay, so that that mechanism, how the operation principles and all, we are not going to discuss in detail, but at least you remember the main parts. One is the impeller. Second one is about casing. Casing is the second one, the outer the outer part, that is casing. That is his airtight passage surrounding the impeller. Okay, and this is designed to direct the liquid into the impeller and lead it away. And the one example is about volute casing, and it is of a spiral type in which the area of the flow increases gradually. You could able to now understand the area of the flow increases gradually. Okay, so in such way, that casing is called as volute casing. So please remember, the casing is again a airtight passage surrounding the impeller. So this part is impeller, you are already familiar. And this again, the outer portion is called as outer airtight portion is called as that casing. So casing is designed to direct the liquid to the impeller and again lead it away from the impeller. One example is about volute casing. The volute meaning is the spiral type of this impeller. The area of the flow increases gradually once it moves out of the system. So please remember these points. Okay, casing, the second part. Third one is about the suction pipe. This is your suction pipe. Then this is for your delivery pipe. Okay, suction is for suction is below the ground, or the pumping of water through the suction pipe, and delivery it is the above the ground level. Okay, delivery pipe, and the shaft again, which is the bar by which the power is transmitted from the motor to a impeller. Okay, thereby the impeller rotates the shaft, and driving motor, this is responsible for rotating the shaft. It can be mounted on the pump, above it or adjacent to it. Okay, so please make a note. Let me repeat again. Look into the diagram. Number 1 is your impeller. Number 2 is your casing. Number 3 is your suction pipe. Number 4 is about delivery pipe. And the fourth and fifth one, that means the shaft and also driving motor is connected to your the transmission of power from the motor drive to the impeller. So thereby the impeller rotates. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now we have to understand logically what are the definition points. Okay, what is static suction head, static discharge gate, and static head. Okay, so look out the definition. It is the difference in elevation between the suction liquid level and the center line of the pump impeller. Please make a note on. Let me draw here. You could able to understand. Okay, top of the water level to the center line of the impeller. This we can call it as suction head. Okay, and again the center line to the delivery point. Okay, delivery point. Okay, so example, if it is being delivered somewhere here, and this will go up to delivery head. Okay, so this is from the center line of the impeller to the delivery head, HD. Okay, if you add HS plus HD, which is equal to total head. Okay, that's what is being explained here. Okay, static suction head is the difference in elevation between the suction liquid level and the center line of the pump impeller. And static discharge head is equal to difference in elevation between the discharge liquid level and the central line of the pump impeller. And if you add these two, delivery plus suction, you can have a total head that is called as static head. Is it okay? Suction, delivery or discharge, and static head. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can look into the diagram one more time. Okay, so this is your suction head, suction, and this is your delivery head, delivery point, delivery head. Okay, and if you add this one together, HS plus HD, equal to static head is equal to HS. Is it fine? Now you can look into the diagram HS, HD, and the static head. Okay, and you can also have a suction head if it is connected to a manometer. Please make a note on, or pressure gauge. Okay, instead of directly measuring, okay, you may have the pressure that say example pressure gauge here, and also have a pressure gauge here. Okay, instead of measuring a head, you can also measure pressure in terms of kilogram per centimeter square. It's kilogram per centimeter square. Okay, so that you can call it as manometric suction head. Okay, please read out the definition. It is the suction gauge, CAUG. Okay, suction gauge reading, or otherwise is a manometer just at the inlet of the pump. Then that HMS, that is the height to which the water rise in the manometer. Okay, please make a note on. You can measure in terms of the pressure gauge difference. It is the suction gauge reading. The HMD is equal to the discharge gauge reading, and if you add suction head plus delivery head, that you can simply call it as manometric head. Okay, please make a note on this something similar. So instead of measuring a height, you can measure in terms of pressure gauge readings. One in suction pipe, another is about your the delivery pipe. Okay, you can measure in terms of pressure inside the pipeline in terms of kg per centimeter square. Okay, then this kg per centimeter square is converted into a meter of water. Okay, here also again in terms of meter of water. If you add these two, and you make it, that is called manometric head. Is it okay? Suction head is the level difference, and this manometric head or the gauge reading is again in terms of pressure. Okay, then you can convert in terms of meter of water. Okay, if you use pressure gauge, you can measure in terms of pressure in terms of kg per centimeter square. And if you use a manometer, okay, manometer or manometer would have seen manometer. Okay, manometer, and you may get a difference. This is called manometric head difference. If it is in the suction pipe, that you can call it as manometric suction head. If it is in the discharge pipe, you can have a manometric discharge head. And if you add it together, then you may get a manometric head. Okay, so please make a difference on these three. One is the difference. Second one is about the gauge reading. Third one is about manometer. If you are using a manometer, that's a difference in manometric level. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Pumps can be connected in parallel and also series also. Please make a note on. Okay. If you want to, especially in the case of pumping stations, single pumps may not be sufficient to discharge the water or pump the water based on your requirement. Okay, it may not be sufficient, single pumps. So what do you do? Now you can connect identical pumps, okay, in a pumping station, which is you can connect in parallel or you can connect in series. Okay, so please make a note on. And if you want to discharge more quantity of water, okay, so you can connect 3 identical pumps in parallel. Okay, so which will pump Q1, with this pump will come pump Q2, and with this pump will pump Q3, and you may get a water that's in a excess quantity Q total. So the 3 pumps together. So this way you can also connect these pump arrangements is called as pumps in parallel. Is it okay? 3 pumps or identical pumps are connected in parallel way, where the discharge is sometimes is more. Okay, you may get or you may pump excess quantity of water. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And you can also connect pumps in series. So some places there is a need to increase the pressure head and keep the discharge constant. Please make a difference on. Okay, the first one is I want to pump excess quantity of water, but here I wanted to keep my quantity is the same or discharge is same, but I wanted to elevate to a highest elevated level. Okay, to increase the pressure head. Okay, they may use Either you can simply call it as multi-stage pumps, or you can simply call it as pumps in series. Pumps in series. That means the discharge from one pump is delivered to the inlet of the second pump and so on. Okay, please make a note on this is on. Okay, if you want to increase the head, you can connect the pumps in series operation. Okay, so H1 discharge is same. Okay, so this is pump 1, pump 2 and pump 3. I can elevate the water, or I can have a say example pressure head in an increased level. At the same time, my discharge will be uniform, or my discharge will be constant. Okay, so please remember this concept. I need to increase the pressure head and keep the discharge approximately the same. So in that case, you can connect pumps in series. This is very simple concept. The discharge from the pump number 1 is delivered to the inlet of pump number 2 and so on. So thereby, thus the same discharge from each and every pump will be given to the next pump. The only difference here is in the receiving end, you may get a elevated pressure. You may get a pressure boost. Okay, that's something is important. Okay, so if you want to connect, if you want to have in the elevated head, you can connect pumps in series. And if you want to pump excess quantity of water, you can connect pumps in parallel. Okay, so please make a difference on. Okay, so this is one example where the characteristics of pump, characteristics of centrifugal pump is being drawn. Okay, it's very simple. Probably you would have come across, or you may be studying in fluid mechanics in detail. Before installation, you should also study, or the pump manufacturer has to give characteristics of a particular pump. Okay, so pump will work on, or in what efficiency, and in what head range it will work on, and what is the power requirement to operate a particular pump. So this you have to draw in the laboratory, or the pump manufacturer has to give a characteristics curve. Okay, so please remember the x-axis in your x-axis is discharge Q in terms of LPM, liters per minute, and y-axis in the head in terms of meter. Okay, and brake horsepower in terms of watts or kilowatts, and third axis is about efficiency. So you can draw. Okay, and the pump has been normally the pump is being operated in a different discharge range, and you can also connect or draw what is the characteristics of a particular pump. Is it okay? So this, the manufacturer has to give the characteristics curve of in every pump. Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so by looking this characteristics curve, and you are in a position to say in what head range it will work, and what could be the efficiency of the system, and what you can pump in terms of liters per minute, or pumping to a particular discharge rate, and what could be the power range. Okay, so everything you can understand from this characteristics curve. Okay, yeah. So these are some of the advantages of centrifugal pump. Number one is its initial cost and maintenance cost is very, very low. Size is very compact, that what you are seeing, and mechanism is very simple, and you may not require skilled labor operation, and discharge from a particular centrifugal pump is very, very steady and is not pulsating. So please make a note on this, something is important. If you switch on a pump, and you may get a continuous water output, and you need not worry about if the water also contains a slight amount of silt and also clay. So it will also pump silt and sand material which is mixed with your water. You need not worry about much, and these pumps are highly durable and safe against high pressure. Okay, so please make a note on these are some of the advantages of a centrifugal pump. Some drawbacks also, and very important drawback is about priming. Probably would have come across. Okay, so these centrifugal pumps, in the bottom suction pipe, you would have they may use one-way valves at any point of time. Okay, so in the centrifugal pumps, okay, suction head is always filled with water. That's what this is called. Foot valve. Probably would have come across foot valve. This is only one-way valve which is opens up, which will allow the water to flow into a suction pipe. Okay, if you switch on the pump, automatically it will closes. Okay, imagine now a situation, and if any leakages in the foot valve, what will happen? The water which is inside the foot valve or inside the suction pipe will leave away, or sometimes there is no water in the suction pipe. So what do you do? And you can fill the suction as well as this impeller with the water. Okay, probably would have come across that. Simple system is called as priming. Okay, so centrifugal pumps, and if the foot valve is not proper, and you have to go for a periodical priming operations. Something is important. Please make a note on. These are the drawbacks. Okay, so pumps, centrifugal pumps require priming if your foot valve is not watertight. Watertight. Okay, and again the important drawback is the discharge also varies with respect to the head of water. Okay, please make a note on. Probably would have also experienced in your household if you are using a centrifugal pump. Okay, if the water table is in an elevated level, okay, and if you switch on the pump, you may get a excess quantity of water. Say example, or otherwise you can compare rainy season and also summer season. People used to say in the rainy season, and if you switch on the pump to fill your tank, it may require 5 to 6 minutes. But in the case of extreme situations like in a dry season or non-monsoon seasons, and it will take 20 minutes. Indirectly meaning that your discharge is not uniform. Okay, please make a note on. Okay, that something is important. Okay, so the discharge from a pump varies with the head of water, and this with the variable head differences, higher heads, the efficiency is very low. Please make a note on. In the higher head level, the efficiency is very low, in the range of approximately 50 to 80%. So please remember these 3 points. Number one, it requires a frequent priming. Priming, and the second one is about discharge varies with respect to a different head of water, thereby you may not get a uniform discharge or output. Okay, and third one is about in a higher elevated heads the efficiency is very low. These are some of the drawbacks. Okay, yeah. So we'll move on to the second cluster of pump, which is positive displacement pumps. One example is about piston pump. Okay, pump, reciprocating pump. So the piston moves up and down, and the check valves prevents the backflow. So we'll go directly with the layout diagram. Okay, this you can simply call it as single reciprocating pump, and this is you can call a double acting reciprocating pumps. Is it okay? Single acting and also double acting reciprocating pump. Okay, you can now look into the different parts. Number one, cylinder. Okay, number two is piston, and piston is connected to a piston rod, and which is again connecting to a connecting rod. Okay, and the piston, because of this connecting rod movement, and piston moves up and front and forth. Okay, and imagine now the piston moves from left side to right side. So what will happen? And vacuum creates, thereby the valve opens, and water from the well, which is again getting into a cylinder, and the piston moves from left side to right side again. So right side to left side, it pushes the water. Obviously, it closes the valves and opens the valve in the delivery. Thereby, you may get a water which is pumped from a cylinder. Okay, so please remember during the suction stroke, or you can remember simply as suction and delivery stroke. Suction stroke, and water it is getting filled into a cylinder during the delivery stroke, and water is pushed out of the cylinder. Okay, so you may remember in a single acting reciprocating pump, you may get a water during only the delivery stroke. During suction stroke, you may not get a water. So that means you may get a non-continuous water output. Okay, so during suction, water will be filled inside the cylinder. During delivery, it will be pushed out of the system. Okay, so that can be managed in a double acting reciprocating pump. That means is one side is suction, other side is delivery. You just look into the diagram. Okay, so once the piston moves from left side to right side, and this valve opens, and you may get a water filled in. At the same time, here you may get a delivery. And once the say example, the piston moves from right side to left side, and this side is delivery and other side is suction. So thereby, if you are connected these two, you may get a continuous output of water. Is it okay? Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so please remember these concepts. Okay, piston. These are called simply piston pumps or reciprocating pumps. The different parts here is a cylinder and piston rod. Piston rod is connected to a shaft or again a rod. Piston rod again to a motor or something. Okay, so when single acting reciprocating pump, when the piston moves from left to right, okay, left to right, and the wall in the suction pipe opens up, which will allow the water to fill in into a cylinder. At particular time, this wall in the delivery will be closed. Okay, delivery wall closed. During the delivery, okay, what will happen? The piston moves forwards. That means it's right to left, right to left because of this crank movement, and thereby this suction wall closes and delivery walls opens up, and which will pump out the water from the cylinder to outside. Okay, so that is about single acting reciprocating pump. Okay, so you may not get a continuous supply of water during only delivery. You may get the stroke, you may get a water. During the suction stroke, you may not. Okay, so to overcome that effect, and it is also been tried with double acting reciprocating pump. And if one side is suction, other side is delivery, and other side is suction, and other side is delivery, and both the delivery connections or deliveries is being connected to a single pipe, and you may get a continuous output of water. Is it okay? Yeah. So these are reciprocating, single acting and double acting reciprocating pumps. Okay, it is also been connected to a. You can also write in terms of your concepts, or you can connect in terms of your wall. If you place wall number V1 and V2, or you can remember VS and VD, and you can explain the mechanism or how the operation of the reciprocating pumps. Okay, yeah. So these are the components I have already discussed. Cylinder, it is made up of cast iron or steel alloy. Piston, it will also reciprocates inside the cylinder, and you have a connecting rod connects the piston and rotating crank. Suction pipe connects the source of water and the cylinder. Delivery pipe, water sucked by a pump is discharged through a delivery pipe. Suction valve adjusts the flow from the suction into a delivery, and delivery valve admits the flow from the cylinder into a delivery pipe. So these are the typical components. So you can elaborate by your own, but at least you remember these are the typical components in the reciprocating pump. Okay, yeah, these are some of the advantages. High efficiency, but important advantage is about no priming is required. No priming is required, and can deliver water at a higher pressure, and even it will also work on a wide range of pressure, and you may get a continuous rate of discharge if the reciprocating pump is provided with 2 pistons or more. You may get a continuous water. Okay, the drawbacks here, it is more moving parts. More parts mean more initial cost. Maintenance cost is high. Occupies is more space because you have a cylinder again with a motor, and needs a skilled supervision during the operation, and low discharge capacity, and you may get a pulsating flow. Okay, you may not get a continuous, intermittent flow, pulsating flow, and because of the movement, you may have a lot of high wear and tear in the mechanical parts. These are some of the drawbacks. Okay, and if you compare centrifugal and also reciprocating pumps, this slide is something is important. Okay, you can note down the discharge is very high, continuous and smooth in the case of centrifugal, but it is not there. It is fluctuating and pulsating. And centrifugal pumps can handle large quantity of water, and here it is very less quantity of water. And this is used for a large quantity of water pumping through a smaller head, but it is meant for small discharge in an elevated head. Please make a note on. If you want to pump more, but water availability is in a lower head, you can use centrifugal pumps. But here, if water availability is too low, but you want to get water anyway, you have to pump out the water, you can use reciprocating pumps. Okay, so cost is very low and cost is very high, and runs at higher speeds and runs at a very, very lower speed. Efficiency is high, here it is efficiency low, and needs smaller area, and cost of installation is very, very less, but here the floor area is very high and cost also high. Low maintenance cost, here is high maintenance cost. And centrifugal pumps can be used for lifting higher viscous fluids also, but here it is used only to lift only water or less viscous fluids. So these are some definition or the comparison between CP, centrifugal pumps, and reciprocating pumps. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And the third one is about hand operated well pumps. And this anyway, I'm not going to discuss in detail. That probably would have come across how the hand pump operates or how the hand pump works. It's also again a similar concept with your reciprocating pump. The piston or a plunger the reciprocates in a closed cylinder, and this is also again up and down. And you can also look into the valve positions V1 and also V2. Okay, something similar. I'm not going to discuss in detail. This is also something similar to a reciprocating pump. Okay. Okay, if you push down, what will happen? This valve opens up. Okay, this valve opens up, allow the water. Okay, then you make it a delivery. You make it a delivery, and if you move up, a vacuum creates and pumps inside the cylinder. So that you just something look into the valve positions. Okay, so please. Remember the valve positions and how the in what time the valve opens and what times this valve closes while you push down or push up. Okay, so if once you push up, you make it a delivery. Probably you would have experienced hand pumps in your household level also. Okay, so once you push down, you make it a delivery, and once you push up, and you make it a vacuum. Water will be pumped inside your cylinder. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and operated, and sometimes you may also have a deep well reciprocating pump, something like this also. Okay. Deep well reciprocating pump, and the concepts are something same. Okay, you may have two different valves, and which is also being connected, power connected, there could be a possibilities of opening and closing of V1 and V2, and you may get water out of the system. Okay, yes. These are some of the advantages of RP. Anyway, that I'm not going to discuss, but once you are familiar with the comparison, then you could able to say something about the advantages and also drawbacks. Okay, yes, just have a look on the advantages of reciprocating pumps. Okay, durable and also flexible, and there could be a possibilities of higher efficiency. And drawbacks here, initial cost is very high, and larger space, which is almost 6 to 8 times of or 8 times required by the horizontal centrifugal pumps. Okay, unsuitable for pumping sediments, unsuitable for pumping waters containing sediment. That's what we are discussed in the comparison. If the viscosity increases, it is somewhat difficult to pump by reciprocating pumps. Okay, and another drawback is about pulsating flow, or you make it a jerk flow. That's something. It is not continuous. And maintenance charges are very high because it contains a lot of valve operation. Okay, these valves are normally needs a lot of attention. Okay, these are some of the drawbacks in the reciprocating pumps. Okay, yeah. Third one is rotary pumps. You can replace a reciprocating action by rotary motion. Please make a note of that's the only difference. That's all. Okay, the rotary pumps of displacement pumps, the rotary motion is used in place of a reciprocating motion as it used in the reciprocating type of displacement pumps. That's the only difference. Okay, only difference. The rotary motion is obtained by using two cams or two gears. Please make a note on. If you are using a cam, that you can call it as rotary pump. If you are using a gear, you may call it as gear pumps. Okay, so the rotating elements fit again inside the casing closely. The water enters through a pipe and it is trapped between the cams and the casing, and it is also further again forces out through the discharge pipe as the cams or gears rotate. Okay, so please remember, instead of a reciprocating motion like this, and you may get a different portions like this. That's very only if you are using a cam, that it is called a rotary pumps, and if you are using a gear, that it may call rotary pumps with gears. Is it okay? So thereby, if the cam rotates inside, then vacuum creates the water pumps inside the system, and there could be a suction and also delivery continuously. So if you are using a cam, you can simply remember as a rotary with cam arrangement. And if you are using a gear, and that is simply you can call it as rotary pumps with gears. Is it okay? So positive displacement is replaced with reciprocating motion is replaced with rotary motion. That's all. That's the only difference. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So here all again the advantages. these pumps do not require priming. That is number one. And this flow again from a pump is nearly free from pulsations. Okay, and there is no valves here, and simple to construct and also easy to repair compared to reciprocating pumps. And they are often used for fire protection systems for building and small domestic water supply systems. And the efficiency is very high. So you can also pump at a rate of 2000 liters per minute, and you can also go up to a pressure of 70 kilogram per centimeter square. Okay, so these are some of the advantages, and drawbacks are cost is very high, and these are non-durable because you have to replace very frequently for their cans or gears. And if it is anything on sediments, okay, imagine now if some particles of stone or sediments are coming in, it will also damage, or there could be a possibilities of wear and tear, or wear and abrasion will destroy the cams and also casing. So these are some of the drawbacks with respect to rotary pumps. Okay, yeah. And screw, it's very simple. Anyway, this we are not like, it is not used in water, but if you want to pump like a sludge, okay, they may use screw pumps. It's very simple. Okay, so screw pumps, and you have a revolving shaft fitted with blades, something similar to auger. Auger you would have come across in soil mechanics, or if you want to have a soil boring, they may use auger pumps. Auger. Okay, something similar to that. Okay, you have a revolving shaft which is fitted with blades, and blades rotates in the inclined trough. Okay, inclined trough, and pushes the water from bottom to up. That something is important. Okay, so this may not be used very extensively in the water, but in the case of wastewater, and if you want to pump the sludge, they may use these sort of screw pumps. Okay, please remember these concepts. Okay, so the auger flights catch the portion of water and lift as the pump screw rotates in a trough. And alternatively, the augers can be built inside the tube, and tube serves as a particular trough. And screw pumps are commonly used in the wastewater lifting, not for water. And this type of pump is very tolerant of debris in the liquid and can move large volume of wastewater or sludge with a reasonable energy input. So please remember, this is not been used in a water pumping, but in the semi-solid or sludge pumping, you can use these sort of pumps. It's very simple. Please remember, these are this is the shaft which contains a blade, which contains a revolving shaft, which contains a blades, which rotates inside the inclined trough. Trough in the sense is a pipe or a channel or something. Okay, so what will happen with this, if it is rotates inside the trough or a pipe, and which will push out the water up in the trough, which will also move, something similar to an auger action. Okay, something similar to auger action. Thereby, say example, semi-solid liquid contents can be pumped into an elevated level. Okay, so please remember, these are screw pumps. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And the last one is about submersible pump. Okay, probably would have come across the submersible pumps. Okay, and which also works the principle of centrifugal pump with multi-impellers. These are called as stages. You may now say example, this is available in the like 15, 20. Okay, one capacity, say example 1.5 HP of pumps we may get in terms of 15 stages or 20 stages. Okay, which may pump the water to a elevated water level with a low capacity. Okay, so please remember, driving motor is placed below the pump bowls within the well water level. The driving shaft is completely been eliminated here, and thereby reducing the bearing action. The water rises to the surface through the riser pipe, which the assemble is suspended. Electrical parts of the motor bearing are enclosed by a oil-filled case with a mercury seal. Okay, so please remember, this also something works similar to a centrifugal pump, but only thing is about multi-stages. Okay, yeah, these are submersible pumps. Okay, the last one is about the air pumps. Probably would have come across in the like rural areas where the water availability is in a very lower in depth, 200 feet or 300 or 400, 500 feet. Okay, even then, if you want to pump the water, they may use airlift pumps. It's very simple. Okay, compressed air is forced into the well through a smaller pipe and is released through a diffuser into a education pipe at the bottom of the well. So air rises in small bubbles in the education pipe, thus forming a mixture of air and also water. The resulting mixture of air and water inside the pipe is lighter than the water outside the pipe. Thereby, the water is forced upward by a hydrostatic pressure. Finally, comes out through the outlet at the top. And you may also have a separator. Please make a note on separator at the top or at the outlet to separate or remove air from the water. So the reclaimed air is again which is generally cooler than the atmospheric air. Then this also again compressed with a very cheap rate. Okay, very cheap. Okay, so very simple. You may have a compressor. Okay, compressed air is introduced into a say example well, and this pipe is called as delivery, or you can simply remember as education pipe. Okay, sorry, ejection pipe, and you just introduce like the air in a small bubbles which is inside the pipe. Okay, you can compare the difference in the water the density difference inside and also outside, inside the pipe and also the outside the well. And because of the difference, it will also lift out and you can get a delivery continuously. But in the outlets or in the delivery, you may have a separator, because you have to separate air and also water. Water will be delivered, air will be taken again to a compressor, because which is very you can separate air and also water, and air can be reused or recycled again back to a well for pumping water. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so please remember this. You can blow air, compressed air inside your well, inside your tube well to lift the water. Okay, that something is important. Okay, air lift pumps. These are some of the advantages. Here which will deliver large amount of water from a small diameter well as well. The one advantage. And the second advantage is about very cheap, reliable, and also simple in operation. There is no moving part. Okay, and you can another advantage is about you need to buy a bigger compressor, but that can be connected with number of wells. That is also as a possibility. Okay, so the pumping from a number of wells can be done by a single compressor unit or common compressor unit. Okay, and the yield of the well can be increased by using more amount of compressed air. So these are some of the advantages of the air pumps. Okay, and you may have some drawbacks also. Have a look. The efficiency sometimes is very low, and flow may not be a continuous. You may get only intermittent. Probably you would have come across these air lift pumps in the rural areas for pumping in a farmlands or what. You may not get a continuous. Okay, something like one you have a intermittent flow of water out of the system, and these are less flexible in fulfilling variable demands. Okay, so I'll stop here, and one more class we'll see the jet pump. That is one more classification, and what are the different factors which will be influenced for the selection of the pumps, and we'll also see how to construct a pumping station, and we'll also see some numerical solutions related to how to calculate the total head, how to calculate work done by the pump, and how to calculate water horsepower and brake horsepower. With that, we'll close. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So please have a glance. These are some of the important concept notes. Okay. And don't write a lot of stories on. Anyway, we are not going to discuss anything on descriptive point of, but the only thing is about at least you are in a position to see in what situation you may use different pumps. That is more than enough for your logical understanding, for at least in the UG level. Okay. So while discussing something in fluid mechanics, in the case of pumps, and look into different dimensions like how to calculate the individual parameters, how to draw a characteristics curve for every pump, and pump operation, how it look like. okay, and how to calculate different, say example, calculations or numerical solutions with respect to. So that is enough for in both the cases, for water pumping and even for fluid mechanics point of view. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much. Now let me download the attendance. Yeah. Yeah, thank you all. So let me drop this note also in the Dropbox. Have a look. Anyway, we have one more class. We'll finish it off on numericals as well as the remaining portion. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.